Welcome to another episode of Eberhart Outdoors. I recently came up with a new book series. I've wrote 3 in the past: bow hunting pressured whitetails, precision bow hunting, and bow hunting whitetails the Eberhart way. And then I spent a year and a half writing a new book with everything I had in me. My last book, and it was going to be so long that I had to do it in a 3-book series. And I had some help. I had some help with Mark Kenyon, Andy May, Mark Kenyon of Wired to Hunt, Andy May, Garrett Prawl, who owns DIY Sportsman, which is an instructional gear YouTube channel, and Greg Godfrey helped write the saddle chapter, and Ernie Power also contributed a couple kill stories. So there's, I think, 78 kill stories with photos of the bucks in the book. Again, and Mark, Andy, Garrett, Greg, and Ernie all have kill stories in there with photos, and I've got a ton of them myself. And the book has everything in it. Just to give you an idea, these are the 3 books. So this is volume 1. It's got 2 bucks sparring on the cover, and in this volume, I'll give you the chapters in all the volumes. There's 20-some chapters. In Volume 1, you have the introduction, which is a long chapter. Hunting Pressure Realities, which is a must-read. So you know what type of land you're hunting, which dictates how you have to hunt. Saddle Hunting, 4 segments of the season, is its own chapter. Postseason Scouting, Early Season Hunting and Lull Hunting. Pre- and Peak Rut Hunting, Post-Rut and Late Season Hunting. Rut Staging Areas, Hunting from the Ground, Hunting Standing Corn. Open to Hunting Public Lands is a very long chapter. Suburban Hunting, Location Preparation Tools, Location Preparation, which is a big deal. DIY Freelance Hunting, that's where you just take off with your gear, go in on unknown property, scout out a place, and hunt right then. Scent Control, big chapter on scent control. It's been the biggest game changer in my hunting career. The first 30-some years I bow hunted, 35 I think, somewhere in there, I took 10 book bucks, and the last 27 years while using ScentLock I took 48 book bucks, so you do the math. So scent control, pre-season and in-season scouting, pre-season speed tours, motion cameras, fake hunting tactics like rattling and scents and calling and grunts, decoys, you name it. What to take hunting, hunting in inclement weather, recovering bow shot whitetails, travel hunting, hunting access, and health and conditioning. And there's information on all types of terrain in these books. Plains out west, hill country across the Midwest, southern plantations, pine plantations in the south, big timber, hill country, West Virginia, you name it, we cover it, because between us we've hunted all of those types of terrains. And I think you'll find these books to be very thought-provoking. Some of the chapters are extremely thought-provoking. It will definitely make you a better hunter. There's no doubt about it. Whether you're a novice, it's easy to understand for a novice hunter, and even if you're an experienced hunter. In my opinion, my personal opinion, I think there's information in this book that will make you become a better hunter. And when you take all the volumes, so I showed you volume 1, this is volume 2, it's a big 10-point, just standing in the timber. And this is volume 3 of another buck in the timber. And when you put all the books together, I don't know how well you can see it, but when they're on a shelf, it forms a big buck out, snow on the ground, and he's licking his back. So you can tell you don't have anything missing if you have all 3 books together. It forms a photo. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my YouTube videos, and thank you very much for watching, and good luck hunting. Quite a few years ago, I met an Amish guy because I needed to get stuff modified. My ESS is no longer made by Tethered. They quit making it, and I'm kind of glad they did, to be honest with you. It had a lot of peripheral stuff on it that I didn't really care for. I mean, it hunted like my modified ESS, like my modified saddle that I've used since 1981. It hunted the same once you were in it. But as far as putting it on, walking in it, climbing trees, the panels always came apart. It is a two-panel saddle, which in my opinion is far and away the most comfortable saddles you can have for versatility's sake. But it had issues because of the way the belt was designed on the saddle. So Noah now makes an ESS modified, and it's exactly like mine. He can make anything. He's got super heavy duty sewing machines and super heavy duty threads. You don't have to worry about the thing coming apart. Now it's not the right color, but it's the color I wanted one made in a light tan so that you could see it. This is my saddle. That's the whole dang thing right there. You go buy these saddles these days, they've got so much stuff on them. Some even have pouches attached, you know, they're fixed pouches on them. And you look like a big pumpkin up in the tree when you got all that stuff hanging off your body. You know, why not put your stuff in a backpack and hang it on the back side of the tree so when you move, that's not moving. You know, I'm a minimalist. So this is an ESS modified, just like mine, and it's in a brown color, so you can see it better. But it's got two panels. They're separate from each other, which is one thing that's very unique with two-panel saddles. And I've designed two different single-panel saddles for major companies, and I just don't like single-panel saddles. They just don't hunt comfortably for me. They're always climbing up your back when you move around. Every 10-15 minutes you're lifting your body up and sliding it back underneath the bottom of your butt because it keeps sliding up. So you're always pulling the thing back down, and that's a lot of movement in the tree, and it's just not comfortable. So with the two-panel saddle, this inner panel stays underneath your butt all the time. It never ever moves. If the outer panel moves any, this outer panel has all your stuff on it. It's got your lineman loops, and this is a quick adjust. I'll show you how that works. But if the outer panel moves up a little bit, it doesn't make any difference because it doesn't affect the inner panel whatsoever. They work totally, entirely by themselves. One does not affect the other. And the D-rings have a function. A lot of guys don't like these D-rings because they don't understand them. There's so many hunters that just, oh, they're metal, so it's going to make noise. Or, you know, scent lock doesn't work because you can't fool a deer's nose. They don't know anything about technology. A lot of hunters don't know anything about how this stuff works. So these D-rings, watch how easy that slides. See how that bridge loop slides on that D-ring? I 100% guarantee you that if you take any single panel saddle where you've got an Amsteel bridge and a fabric, you know, like this lineman loop, a fabric bridge loop, when you sit in that, this isn't going to slide. So if you adjust anything, you know, with this will slide and redistribute your weight evenly in the saddle. And it does that on both sides. Anyway, these are here for a reason. It has to do with comfort and versatility. So this is the two-panel saddle. This was the biggest game changer between the manufactured ESS and the new one. The old one had a waist belt on the inside here, and when you hooked it up, everything dangled in front of you, and the panels wanted to separate. With this, it's got a quick adjust, just like you have on a backpack. And basically, when you pull this up on your waist, I'll show you. You just step into it with both feet, reach around, grab the back top of the panels, slide it up to where you want it. This is for walking. You know, you do this for walking and climbing. You just grab this quick adjust, tag into this quick adjust. He can also modify it. He can make the panels bigger. So let's say you're over a 38-inch waist, you're a big guy, you know, he can add an inch, he can add 2 inches of width to each panel. So it'll fit you a lot better. And that makes a big difference because if you're a big guy, and typically this has been a one-size-fits-all, if you're a big guy, it's just too small and it pinches your hip bones on the side. So he can add some width to it and make it for bigger men. And these panels never move. Once you do this, you pull it up above your waist. You know, both panels are above your waist, about where the top of your belt would be. And that's for walking, and that's for climbing, you know, while you've got your lineman rope around the tree for climbing the tree and putting your sticks up or whatever. So this is the ESS, and it is absolutely, in my opinion, the most comfortable saddle on the market, and I've sat in a lot of saddles. You can have a 6-inch seat because the panels are 6 inches deep each, so you can totally overlap them and hunt like that, or change clothes in it, which I'm going to do a video on here real soon. Or you can separate them. I like to have mine separated and just barely touching each other. Maybe the outer panel slightly overlapping the back edge of the inner panel. So it's about a 10-11 inch seat, which is nice. It's just underneath my butt. My upper body's totally exposed and clean, but I've got enough pressure on my upper butt to make me feel secure and comfortable. Noah's number is 989-506-0721. This video is going to be on changing your clothes in the tree out of a saddle. It's definitely more difficult out of a tree stand, a hang on or any other kind, because you're basically tethered to the tree through a little hole in the back of your jacket. So you have to physically turn around, or however you unhook that. You know, that's kind of a little bit more difficult than in a two-panel saddle. Two-panel saddles are definitely the easiest to change your clothing in. So anyway, I just got up here, hung my bow up, just got a field tip on it. First thing I do when I get up, after I hook up my bow, is I take off my backpack. I always take a backpack. I got a lot of stuff in my backpack. Even during the early season. It's obviously snowing now, so it's cold, and I've got layer garments in here, which is going to be perfect for doing this video. As you can see, I'm tethered to the tree. I've tied a girth hitch. I have a video on using a girth hitch. I think it's in the 30s, someplace in the 30s, on tying a girth hitch knot so that your rope doesn't slide down the tree. Because a lot of times you'll lift your weight to move around, or let a little bit of tether out, whatever it may be, or pull some tethered up, and if you're in a smooth bark tree, it'll slide, the rope will slide down a little bit if you're just through the big loop. So tying that girth hitch secures it to the tree, even on a smooth bark tree. Okay, let's say it's dark, so it's a morning hunt. Because I do the same thing in the mornings as I do in the evenings, or during the middle of the day on an all-day sit. I change my clothes, you know, in the morning, because I walk in light. I carry my layer garments in my backpack, and then once I'm up in the tree, I let my body cool off a little bit, and then I change my clothes. Now on an all-day sit, I'll change my clothes 4 times. I'll do it before daylight. I'll put my layer garments on, then about 11 o'clock it heats up a little bit. I got to take some stuff off, so I'll take some layer garments off, put them in my pack, back in my pack, and then later in the afternoon as it starts to cool off, I put those back on because it's going to get cold in the evening. So, and then before I get out of the tree, I'll typically take them off, the layer garments, because I don't want to overheat on my long walk out, or the exertion of climbing down the tree, removing these are Bullman strap-on steps, and removing my sticks. You know, that's some physical exertion, and it makes you perspire if you've still got all your hunting clothing on. Back in the old days, I used to suffer big time, because I used to wear all my hunting clothes in, because the clothing was bulky, super bulky, but it was all in one piece. It was a jacket with all kinds of insulation in it. Now you can buy jackets that are relatively lightweight, even though they're made for cold weather. They've got some Primaloft in them, or some Thinsulate, but you still need layer garments. If it's like today, it's 29 right now. It's going to get down to 20 tonight, I think 19. I'm in Michigan. So in cold weather, you need to learn how to layer, because dressing for hunting is an art form. Entering and exiting without overheating is an art form. That's why I like to go in light if it's a long walk, and come out light if it's a long walk out. Because you don't want to perspire, you don't want to get your base garment damp, because on a morning entry, if you get your base garment damp, you're going to get cold quicker, because you'll feel the cold when your base is damp much more than when it is dry. They just transfer heat and cold differently, damp clothing and dry clothing. It's just like on a 40-degree day, you could stand outside for a while, but if it's a 40-degree water, you jump in the water and you're going to probably die of hypothermia within 10 or 15 minutes. But you can stand out in the cold for a long time because it's dry, you're not wet. So I'm up in my saddle. I've got my Bullman steps, strap-on steps hooked up with the ratchet strap. Now this is a small tree. It's pretty rare I hunt anything any smaller than this. This is about as small as I go. And this one I got 5 steps on the strap. I suggest if you get Bullman strap-on steps, which in my opinion are the best, and if you buy them and you use the word bow hunt, because you can only buy these online, if you use the word bow hunt, you get a 10% discount on anything you buy from Bullman. So I highly recommend these Bullman strap-on steps if you're into strap-on steps, which I am. I like to be able to move all the way around the tree and shoot any direction and hide from the deer if it's a non-target deer. In a platform, it's just like a tree stand, a hang-on tree stand. If you're using a platform, you're stuck in one spot. You have to make a lot of movements to get shots in different directions, whereas with steps, as you see stuff coming into fruition, you can move around the tree, keep the tree as a buffer between you and the deer so you don't get picked. And once the foliage is down, if you're hunting in a heavily pressured area, in lightly pressured areas, it's not as big a deal because deer will look at you and then keep doing what they're doing. But in pressured areas, you get picked, you're done. I can't believe people, you know, when they got to shoot to their weak side, they stand on their platform and spin 180 degrees around with their tree tether over their shoulder. That's so much movement on the same side of the tree the deer's on. You do that here, you're going to get picked 50% of the time once the foliage is down during the rut phases. I struggle to comprehend that. But obviously guys that are doing that are doing it in areas where, you know, they can get away with it. The deer, you know, the deer don't look in trees for people in lightly pressured areas. And even when they see, just like on TV, you'll see a deer look at a guy in a tree on TV, and then they'll just, well, whatever, and they'll keep doing what they're doing. They'll keep on, they'll put their head back down and move, and they shoot them. That doesn't happen in pressured areas. So I'm kind of sitting in my comfort level. I have not adjusted my saddle yet, but if I were going to be hunting, I'm going to take this outer panel and pull it up a little bit to give me some slight upper butt, lower back support. So that right there is about, how I like to be hunting. Slightly overlapped, that's about a 10-inch seat. But if I'm going to change my clothing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that outer panel back and overlap the inner panel. And I'm going to take my jacket to change my clothing. I'll let out a little bit of lead here, maybe an inch. And then I will unzip it. And I have, if I'm hunting, I have washed my hands in scent-free detergent or used scent-free wipes before I go out hunting. So my hands are pretty clean. And I did forget to put on my release. I'm going to take my jacket off. I'm going to hang it on something. That'll work right there. Just hang it over the bow. And then my backpack's over here. I hung it at 120 degrees off to my right, so it's not in my way yet. I can still easily get into it. And on my backpack, I also have a watch. This watch hangs from my D-ring on the very top up by the loop, so I can easily just look over to the side and tell what time it is, because I don't carry my cell phone with me. I unzip my pack, and I also carry this little fanny pack with me. It's in my backpack. So I'll hang that up, and then I'll pull out my layer garments. This here is a heated vest. I like the heated vest to go against my base layer. And I wear a very thin base layer for that reason. Because I want the thinner base layer I'm going to feel the heat on my body because the base garment is thinner. And I always wear merino wool as my base garment. Typically it's Icebreaker. Icebreaker makes the best merino wool garments in the world. And they use merino wool from sheep that are actually from New Zealand, which is where merino sheep are supposed to be raised. If you find merino wool garments and the sheep are not from New Zealand, you're probably going to have issues with itching, because merino sheep in New Zealand are raised above 5,000 feet elevation, and there's no flies up there, so they don't eat. There's no flies to eat the dung off the fibers, the wool fibers. When you go to lower elevations, there's flies, and when the flies or whatever the bugs may be eat the dung off of the wool fibers of the sheep, they leave barbs in them like on fish hooks. That's why regular wool comes from lower elevations. That's why it itches, because when they shear the sheep, all the wool goes in the same bin and they just mix it all up. So you're getting wool with little barbs in the fibers, and that's why that itches. So merino wool has become so popular, there are places and companies now that are getting merino wool from farmers that are actually raising merino sheep in lower elevations. So try to make sure that the wool is coming from New Zealand, where there are going to be no barbs and it's not going to prick. Also, merino wool has different insulation qualities than regular wool, and it also has cooling qualities that regular wool does not have. Merino wool is a very unique fiber. So this here is a heated vest. It's got a front and back panel. It's got 2 buttons, belly and back. Also has an element in the collar. And I'm not a collar guy, so I always tuck my collars in. There's lots of good heated vests online. You don't have to pay $200 or $300 like you do in a sporting goods store. You know, they're quite pricey in sporting goods stores. You can buy them online for $99 up to $150. They're considerably cheaper, same exact stuff. Now this is another layering garment. I saw these on a closeout in a sporting goods store when I was a sales rep, and I bought 3 of them. They're made by Hook. I don't even think they're made anymore, but it's got 100 grams of Primaloft in the body and in the sleeves of this jacket. And this thing, Primaloft, is the most premium insulation out there right now. Doesn't take a lot of Primaloft, and Primaloft has 0 weight to it almost. It weighs nothing. So you can put quite a lot of Primaloft in a jacket, and it doesn't add squat for weight, and it's not that bulky. So I'll zip that up. Then I'll put my jacket back on. Now if you notice, when I pull those panels down underneath my butt, I overlap those panels. What that does is it frees up my entire upper body. You can't do that with a single panel saddle. The single panel saddle is right up to here. So you got tucking in issues, pulling it out of your saddle issues when you go to take the clothes off to change again. You just overlap the panels, stick them underneath the bottom of your butt, and your whole upper body, back and front, is wide open. Then when you get ready to hunt, what I typically do is I'll stand up and pull everything down tight. And I'll just take this outer panel, pull it up where I want to for hunting, which is usually where they're just barely overlapped, about like that. And then I sit back down. Now I don't like having this long rope here, so what I'll usually do with this is just tie a simple little half hitch And I always leave about 6 or 8 inches here in case I need to adjust this down. I also use an arm guard, and I don't like the thought of something slapping my string, slapping my arm. These are tethered knee pads. In my opinion, they're the best knee pads out there. Very lightweight, very comfortable, and they got a pretty thick pad on them. And this is a pretty old school leather arm guard. Okay, so I'm pretty much ready as far as now my body's ready. If I want to turn on the heated vest, I'll undo this and just reach in here and push the button. Red is high, white is medium, blue is the lowest setting. So you got blue, white, red is the highest. But I don't need that right now. So in that little fanny pack that I had, backpacks are nice because you can stuff your junk in it. People that have those things on the side, I think that's ridiculous, man, but whatever. Everybody's got their own gig, I guess. Okay, this is something called Spandaflage. I don't even know if they're still available, but they were made by Hunter Specialties, and I own about 20 of them. And you just cut little eye holes in them and open them up, and it kind of covers your face, keeps your face warm, and it also covers up all of your skin. So deer look up, they can't see your face. All they can see is your beady little eyes. And I'm a scent lock guy. I never worry about getting winded. So this is a scent lock head cover. This here is the most important factor in a scent lock suit. A scent lock head cover with a drop down face mask. That is an absolute must because 40% of your odor comes out of your head. Your hair follicles are the biggest. Then you got your mouth, your nose, and your ears. So my head cover goes over the Spandaflage. I'll tuck it in underneath my collar on my exterior jacket. And then zip it up. So that's pretty much the way I'm hunting. And I have my gloves on, obviously. Now these are not scent lock gloves. Not a big fan of scent lock gloves for shooting. So these are made out of spandex, got a lot of elastic in it. They fit skin tight, they're really nice. But these are washed in scent-free detergent. My hands are clean, so I'm not getting odor out of the gloves or out of my hands because I wipe them off with scent-free wipes. And I do carry, I'm going to put this on because it is cold enough to use it. Just an additional hat, and it doesn't come down over my ears. I don't like things over my ears. I want to hear. And I do carry a quart Ziploc bag with scent-free wipes in it, baby wipes. They're either Pampers or Huggies. Hypoallergenic, scent-free baby wipes. They're a lot cheaper than buying the stuff in the store. Sporting goods stores. Zip my backpack up. And one really cool thing about this scent lock backpack that I personally had made, I've got some scent lock fabric and had this custom made, is it's flimsy. So it doesn't have a frame to it. Most backpacks have a frame shape and they're rigid. So you can take your clothing out of it and it's still something that's bulky and the frame is out to get away from the tree. With this pack here, you know, when it's loaded, it's sticking out like this. But once I take the gear out of it, it lays down pretty flat against the tree. And here's my watch, and I have that always exposed where I can see it. I'm trying to get Scent Lock to make this pack. I think it would sell really, really well. It's super comfortable, super quiet. I carry a rattle bag in this pocket right here, this exterior pocket, and there's a rattle bag in there. There's a exhale grunt call, an inhale grunt call, which is softer, and there's also a folding hand saw in there, a saber saw, made by Tethered. And you can put a limb in that to make it an extension saw with just a piece of branch. And then on the other pocket on the opposite side, I have a pee bottle and I have a bottle of water. And the pee bottle is I think it's some kind of a tropical juice bottle, and it's got a big throat about that big around. So it's real easy to use. Next thing I do, once it's daylight, I got a range finder. Everybody has a range finder. Range find landmarks where you think you might possibly get a shot or in your shooting lanes. I also carry antihistamine tablets in that fanny pack because a lot of times if I got a runny nose or I'm sniffing a lot, I'll take antihistamine tablets and it'll dry me up so I'm not sniffling and having a runny nose. So now I'm basically hunting and I'm just sitting here. Now if I want to take a nap and go to sleep, I can easily pull my body up, slide this way up here into my back. So I've got back support. Okay? And then I can just sit here and nod off. And I like to stay, relatively tight to the tree. I don't like having my body out here like guys do on platforms. I like to keep as tight to the low profile to the tree. It lowers the chances of getting picked. Getting picked is a big deal in a pressured area. And most states on public lands are pretty decently pressured, especially up in the Northeast and upper Midwest. So if I'm taking a little snooze for 10 or 15 minutes, I like to keep my hands wrapped around my bridge. That case, if you do that jerky thing, you're not going to jerk to the side and feel like you're going to fall because you got the lead strap here in front of you that your arms are going to stop against. Then when I get ready to hunt, I just pull my body back up, pull that outer panel back down, just overlapping the inner panel, and now I'm hunting again. If I want to move around the tree, because I've got my backpack at 120 degrees to my right, I can move around the tree 180 degrees and that pack's not in my way, or I can move around the tree to my right 90 degrees and that pack is still off my right shoulder. It's not in my face. A lot of guys, if they put their pack too tight to where they're at, they have a hard time going to your right because the backpack's in the way. So if you put it at 120 degrees, it's out of the way for a 90 degree to the right swing, from your 6 o'clock to your 3 o'clock position. And it's real easy to go to your 180 degree to your 12 o'clock position, and the backpack is still not in your way. It's kind of centered between the 90 and the 180 on the other side. So moving around to the left is pretty easy. Now if I see a shot and it's going to be, let's say over here at 3 o'clock, what I will typically do, because I always put another bow holder on the back side of the tree, I'll typically move my bow, let out a little lead to make up for me moving around the tree. And then just move on my steps. Now I can take a shot over here to the 3 o'clock, even the 4 o'clock position with no problem. And that's how easy it is. Okay, so if I want to change my clothes back, okay, let's say it's an all-day sit, or it's it's after dark and I don't want to walk out with all my clothes on. What I will do, take off my gloves. Guess I should bring my bow back over here. Take off my arm guard. Gonna pull this back up to where I was. Overlap the panels again. Real easy to do. You just slide your hand inside the outer panel and then just slide your hand around and it'll pull that outer panel right down over top of the inner panel. So now I'm totally exposed again on top. Kind of a neat break, so I fold everything back up. Now, if I only want to take off one garment, like the jacket, and leave the heated vest, I can do that. But just for this video, I'm taking off everything just like I put it on. With an ESS, you always have to make sure you put the zipper on underneath this quick adjust in front of you, between the D-rings. Zipper up. Pull her down inside the saddle, grab the outer panel. Pull it up where I want it, right about there. Put the arm guard back on. And it's real easy from this position here, you know, with your legs somewhat straddling the tree, your feet on steps. And for taking shots, you know, because I like to sit. You know, I got most of my weight in my butt. I have very, very minimal weight in my feet right now, maybe 10 or 15% on each foot. The rest is in my butt, because that's what a saddle's made for. The seat's made to sit in. You know, most people, when they're on a platform, they lean back. They're leaning like this, away from the tree. So they got a lot of weight on their feet, and they wonder why their feet get sore inside their soft-soled boots. So anyway, with the ring of steps, you're not using, because your legs are somewhat straddling the tree and you're in more of a sitting position, your feet aren't getting sore. And it's just real easy to take shots. You know, I'm in the 6 o'clock position right now, so it's real simple to take shots back here at 6 o'clock, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I could shoot 1 o'clock with very little problem. So it's real easy to move around the tree in any direction, you know, right, left, whatever. And it's, I don't know, I'm just a 2-panel guy. That's all there is to it. I just think they're so superior to anything else. And this just happens to be my 2-panel. There's other 2-panel saddles out there. I've never hunted out of another 2-panel saddle, so I can't speak to their comfort, but this is very minimalist and it's very, very comfortable. Because also with a 2-panel saddle, this one especially, you've got 8 inches of strap supporting your weight. You've got 2-inch wide nylon straps on each panel. So if you got the panels separated, you got 4 2-inch wide straps supporting your weight, and they're all weight-bearing 2-inch straps. Typically with single panel saddles, you're going to have a weight-bearing strap on the very bottom of the saddle that's right underneath the crease of your butt, and then you're going to have some kind of mesh or fabric that is not weight bearing, other than it's attached to that weight bearing strap, and then you're going to have another weight bearing strap on the top of your saddle. So after you sit for a while on a long term, like a long sit or an all day sit, that bottom strap, because that's the only weight bearing strap, you know, when you're in a sitting position of any kind, because this one back here really isn't doing much, you know, you feel that. That becomes a stress point. Whereas with a 2-panel saddle with 8 inches of strap supporting your weight, your whole butt is being supported by weight bearing straps. So it's just more comfortable to me. And you don't have all that stuff on the side. A lot of these saddles now with these Amsteel bridges, they've just got big knots full of stuff on the sides and pouches all over the place. And, you know, for those people that like them, I guess that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But I think if more people got into using a 2-panel, I think they'd really like it. And a friend of mine named Noah, he's an Amish guy. He owns a saddle and bridle shop where he makes saddles and bridles and harnesses for the Amish community he lives in. He's an Amish guy. He makes this saddle. It'll be green. It's not going to be tan, so it'll blend in with your camouflage that you're wearing. And it will have the lineman loops. And typically it'll have a fixed bridge, or because he makes them custom. He can put an adjustable bridge on it if you want. It'd be a nylon strap adjustable bridge. His phone number, Noah's phone number is 989-506-0721. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. I tend to ramble on, but I try to give as much information as I possibly can. And hey, good hunting, guys.